Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. When you've had a long-standing relationship with a narcissistic person, one of the natural thoughts that you have on your mind is, I got to get away from this. And I totally understand, because the narcissist can bring so much dysfunction to you. And part of the problem is they keep blaming and shaming you for whatever woes that they have. Let's understand, though, that part of your healing and moving on from that narcissist is to develop a core understanding of who they are and what they carry on the inside, because they've made such an emphasis on making you to be the problem that over time it becomes its own form of gaslighting and shaming and brainwashing, that it's like, well, if I have problems, it's because of you. My response to all of that is, no, narcissists are problematic with you because they have a sense of hidden desperation that they have never come to terms with. And on the inside, earlier on in their life, they had this notion that says, what am I going to do with all of my hurt? What am I going to do with all of my pain and the struggles and the suffering that I have? Because they too had all sorts of strain and difficulty. But instead of them having a good resolution of that, they never did really come to terms with what to do with their own suffering. So what they do is they take it and they displace it onto you, and they use a lot of what we refer to as projection. They see in you much of the difficulty that they have not come to terms with yet on the inside of themselves. That's their desperation. And when I say it's a hidden desperation, what I mean is they're not even consciously aware of it, because they decided a long time ago that taking responsibility for their hurt somehow might not work out well, so they make everybody else responsible. There are multiple needs that we have in our developmental years that we can look at that will help determine if we're going to develop more of that narcissistic pattern or not. And I want to run through several of these, and I want you to see how when a narcissist has unmet needs, what it does to them, and then we're going to take it from there. For example, one of the primary needs, and this is no shocker to anyone, that narcissistic individual did not have addressed very well, is the need for affirmation. Narcissists grew up learning that affirmation or acceptance is all based on conditions. Do the right thing and do what we say, then you're in the club, but if not, it's curtains for you. Likewise, that individual had a need to learn how to reason when imperfections came into their lives, whether it's from them or the imperfections that other individuals had, and they didn't learn how to manage that well at all. That's what I refer to as the training of emotional competence. It's like, well, when flaws come up, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to manage it. And so they just kind of turn into a blaming kind of a person. Well, you must have done it. They had a need to feel known and a need to feel understood. But instead, narcissists had a lot of invalidation. And it's like, well, if you thought it, it's probably wrong. And so that's something, a pain they harbor and they carry on the inside. They had a need to feel equal with other individuals as they were maneuvering through all sorts of different social structures, whether it's inside the family or school and growing up and work and all of that. But instead of having a sense of equality, they learned that life is a competition. One of us is going to be above the other. Which one is it going to be for you? They had a need to feel free. And when I say feel free, having the privilege to think for themselves and to draw their own conclusions, as opposed to presuming that life is just one big agenda and you're bound to that agenda and you're tied to it. They had a need to have security in their social structures, whether it's at home or in their primary relationships, work, etc. They had a need to feel coordinated as opposed to constantly fighting off conflict. Now, when I say this about the narcissist, you might be thinking, well, I have exactly the same set of needs too. The difference between a person who goes into narcissism versus someone who goes toward healthiness is narcissists never do come to terms with their own responsibility to find their way, despite the fact that those needs have not been met. Healthy individuals will say, well, I have needs, but I don't have desperation because I know myself well enough to know I can figure this out. Narcissists have never gotten to that status. Instead, what they do is they're in constant compensation mode, and guess what they do when you show up? They may not say it out loud, although the implication is very strong, but the implication is I'm putting you in charge of getting rid of my sense of pain. You're in charge of making me not suffer so much. You're in charge of eliminating my feelings of desperation. And you can see that there are many evidences that they have and they carry this desperation. This is why these individuals are so immature. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it, which is why they put it on you. This explains why narcissists are strongly demanding. It's like, well, I can't just let you be what you are towards me because I'm not sure what that's going to do. So let me go ahead and give you a predetermined agenda as to how you're supposed to treat me. And so they're highly controlling. This explains why they can be very, very easily disappointed when other individuals don't do what they want them to do, if you don't speak the words that they want to hear. This explains why they are constantly critical. You will never be good enough because their neediness is so strong. And of course, you can't be a mind reader and say, well, I think this is what I need to do. It's like, and they're thinking, nah, that wasn't it either. Keep trying though. Try to make me feel better. This explains why narcissists are drawn towards the position of power and authority. They have such a deep history of worrying that they're going to be a nobody that's like, well, if I can rise to the surface and or above everybody else and show them that I'm really the one that should be making the rules, then that makes me a somebody. But it's all a compensation. They'll squelch anyone along, which is not that equality at all that I mentioned. This explains why narcissists can be highly exploitive. They're very willing to use you to maintain or to compensate for their needs and hurts and their pain that they carry on the inside. And this also explains why they're just totally disinterested in knowing you, because the only thing they want to know is how you can make them feel better. Narcissists are in pain. Narcissists are desperate people. Narcissists carry a lot of misery. They've been on the receiving end of suffering, but they don't take responsibility for their reactions to it. They simply turn around and say, who am I going to make responsible for getting me out of my pain? Oh, there you are. And they're very much externally based. Now, your overarching question as you are in the presence of these individuals is, well, do I receive that narcissist desperation and misery into myself, or can I take my needs and be someone who knows how to respond on the healthier path? Keep in mind, I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we all have those same basic needs ourselves. But the fatal mistake that a narcissist makes is they think, I don't have the tools, I don't have the skills, I don't have the initiative to get out of my own pain. That's why I put so much pressure onto you to make it happen for me. And I'm hoping, rather than you making that same fatal mistake, that you'll take a whole different approach towards your engagements with other individuals, starting with the assumption that says, I'm going to accept myself. And even when I have my flaws and my own struggles, Acceptance is something that I still am going to anchor down on. I'm going to learn to love who I am, lumps, bumps, bruises, and all. Narcissists can't think that way. Likewise, you in your path towards healthiness can say, I see others not as not as a competitor, but as a fellow sojourner. That's how I want to approach other people. Or I'm hoping that in your alternative way of dealing with pain and suffering, I'm hoping you can think, rather than me just being a raw reactor to whatever is thrown in front of me today, I'm going to know who I am and what traits that I'm going to have to predominate my personality, especially in moments of conflict. In other words, you're thinking and you're predetermining how you want to manage yourself. I'm hoping as you look in the alternative direction that you'll decide, well, whatever needs I have, I still want to maintain kindness. I still want to have a sense of goodness and decency. I want to be someone who encourages others. I'm hoping that likewise you're going to be the kind of person that says, I'm a lifelong learner. I want to be in a refinement process. I'm never a completed package, and I look forward to what else that I can do to make myself more capable from the inside out. I want to be a listener. I want to be someone who tunes into other individuals and who includes them in the way that I think. At the same time, in other words, I'll be a team player, but at the same time, I want to also give myself permission to be my own independent person, which means that you think for yourself and you challenge yourself. So know that when you are trying to get away from a narcissist, you're dealing with someone who has not been able to do that. They're stuck in their sense of desperation. They carry much pain. They carry who they are right now is the result of a lot of suffering, and they've not come to terms with all that that means. And as a result, pain and pessimism drives who they are. I hope that in your reaction to that, you can respond with a thought that says, well, I too know what suffering is. I too know what pain is, which is why I am going to have that lifelong commitment toward growth, and I'm very willing to include anyone who wants to join me on that path. I hope that videos such as this can give you a good awareness of what you're dealing with. Knowledge is power. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I hope that we can increase your knowledge and your understanding so that you can be the better person that you were intended to be. And so hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep more videos coming in your direction. Gus and I will. I don't know if you know, Gus is snoring today. I can hear it. You probably can't. Gus is completely at peace right now. If you have a need, I would encourage you to seek out therapy. And I'm so pleased that we have a sponsor, the people at BetterHelp.com, that can provide that for you online. And we have a link below that will take you to that. It's become very accessible and very popular. And so that if that's a need, I would strongly encourage you to seek out the assistance that professionals can give to assist you on the journey that we're talking about. Likewise, I have my therapeutic classes, and it's like signing up for an online course. They're very extensive, each with multiple videos and teaching documents and guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about connecting well with people, Free to Be about finding yourself despite those controllers. This is Me about boundaries. We also have my webinars. We have our podcast. We have our website with many articles, my books, lots of resources. I appreciate you letting me be on your journey. I know that it's easy just to say, well, that narcissistic person's a jerk, or they're difficult, which can be true. But keep in mind, these are people who are carrying a great deal of pain, and they're wanting to just put it onto your shoulders. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm hoping that you can work out your difficulties in a way that says, I'm going somewhere healthy with this. And in doing so, it positions you to be that person of DRC. That's what we stand for here on Team Healthy: dignity, respect, and civility. And in doing so, I hope it positions you to truly become and remain a person of peace.